Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here today to talk about something that's been a lifelong passion of mine, the evolution of software technology, and how it's reshaped our world in ways we couldn't have imagined just a few decades ago. When I think about the future of software technology, I can't help but feel a profound sense of both opportunity and responsibility. Software is no longer just a tool for business or entertainment. It's becoming the very fabric that will help solve some of the most complex and urgent problems facing humanity. The challenges we face today are unprecedented in scale and complexity, from climate change to health care, from education to economic inequality. Software will be central to addressing these issues, but only if we approach it with a long-term perspective and a commitment to inclusivity and ethical innovation. One of the most exciting developments on the horizon is artificial intelligence. AI has moved from the realm of science fiction into practical, everyday applications faster than most anticipated. What makes AI especially powerful is not just its ability to process data or automate tasks, but its potential to augment human intelligence. We're entering an era where software can help us think better, make smarter decisions, and unlock creativity in ways we couldn't before. For example, AI can analyze vast amounts of medical data to identify patterns and treatments far more quickly than any human could, potentially saving millions of lives. But it's important to remember that AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for human judgment or empathy. The future will require a partnership between human insight and machine intelligence, where software helps amplify the best of what we can do. Another area that I'm deeply optimistic about is how software can accelerate our fight against climate change. The scale of this challenge is daunting, but software offers unprecedented ways to optimize energy usage, improve resource management, and innovate in sustainable technologies. Smart grids, for instance, rely heavily on sophisticated software to balance energy loads and integrate renewable sources like solar and wind into the grid efficiently. Data-driven models can predict environmental changes and guide policies with greater precision. More broadly, software enables transparency and collaboration across governments, businesses, and communities, allowing us to coordinate efforts on a global scale. I believe that the next decade will see software-driven breakthroughs that make clean energy more affordable and accessible, ultimately transforming how we interact with the planet. Education is another critical area where software will be transformative. The pandemic accelerated digital learning and exposed gaps in access and quality worldwide. Software platforms now have the potential to offer personalized, adaptive learning experiences that meet individual students where they are. Imagine software that understands a student's learning style, pace, and challenges, and then tailors curriculum and resources to maximize their potential. This is not a distant dream, it's happening now. And with the continued advancement of cloud computing and connectivity, these tools can reach even the most remote and underserved populations. Technology can be a great equalizer, and we have a responsibility to ensure that software helps close educational gaps rather than widen them. As software becomes more embedded in every aspect of our lives, issues around privacy, security, and ethics will become even more critical. The future of software is not just about innovation, but about trust. People need to feel confident that their data is safe, that the algorithms they interact with are fair and unbiased, and that technology is used to enhance freedom and opportunity, not undermine them. This requires an ongoing dialogue among technologists, policymakers, and society at large. We must build frameworks that encourage transparency and accountability while fostering innovation. Without this foundation of trust, the enormous potential of software will be limited. On a personal level, I've always believed that technology should empower individuals to do more, whether it's in their jobs, their communities, or their personal lives. The future of software will be defined by how well it lives up to that ideal. It's not just about creating more complex systems or more features. It's about creating software that is intuitive, accessible, and designed with empathy. This means listening to diverse voices, understanding real-world challenges, and building solutions that serve everyone, not just a privileged few. The democratization of technology must continue to be a guiding principle. Of course, looking to the future also means acknowledging the pace of change and the need for lifelong learning. As software evolves, so must our skills and understanding. The workforce will require new capabilities, and education systems will need to adapt quickly. But this is an exciting prospect, not a threat. The rapid evolution of software creates opportunities for people to engage in meaningful work, to innovate, and to contribute to something larger than themselves. We need to prepare for a future where adaptability and continuous learning are the norms. In the end, software's greatest impact will be measured not just by the technologies we build, but by the lives we improve. It's easy to get caught up in the latest gadgets or breakthroughs, but the true power of software lies in its ability to solve real problems, to make complex things simpler, and to expand human potential. That's the vision I've held throughout my career, and the vision I believe will guide the next generation of innovators. The journey ahead is exciting, but it's also a call to action. We must harness the full power of software with wisdom and care. Together, through collaboration and a shared sense of purpose, software can help us build a more equitable, sustainable, and prosperous world. I'm confident that if we stay true to these principles, the future of software technology will be one of hope, progress, and profound positive change. When I look back to the very beginnings of software, it's fascinating to see how far we've come and how much those early days shaped the trajectory of technology and society. In the 1970s, software was still an emerging idea, almost an afterthought compared to hardware. The dominant belief at the time was that the real value was in the physical machine, the computer itself. Software was often bundled with hardware or treated as a minor feature, something that simply made the hardware work. But I saw it differently. I saw software as the key that would unlock the true potential of computing. At that time, computers were large, expensive, and confined to research labs, universities, or big corporations. The notion that an ordinary person could have a computer on their desk seemed like science fiction. But the thing about software is that it's inherently flexible. Unlike hardware, which is fixed by design, software could be changed, improved, and tailored to solve specific problems. That flexibility created enormous possibilities. I believed that if you could write the right programs, you could bring computing power to everyone, not just specialists. One of the critical moments in those early days was the development of programming languages and operating systems. Before those existed in usable forms, interacting with a computer was cumbersome and required a deep understanding of machine code or assembly language. It was a significant barrier. We needed to build software that was more accessible and user-friendly to bring computing to a broader audience. That's when we started working on creating tools and languages that could abstract some of the complexity, making it easier to develop software and for users to benefit from it. We were driven by the belief that software wasn't just about making machines function. It was about empowering people to be creative and productive in ways that had never been possible. I remember working long hours, driven by the conviction that this was a mission worth pursuing. When Microsoft was founded, our goal was clear: to develop software that would run on the emerging personal computers and make them useful for everyday people and businesses alike. The early software we developed was simple by today's standards, but at the time, it was groundbreaking. Creating an operating system that could manage hardware and allow users to run various applications was a huge step forward. Suddenly, computers were no longer just scientific calculators. They became platforms for innovation, communication, and productivity. The impact of those early software developments rippled far beyond what we initially imagined. They laid the groundwork for the software industry as we know it today. We created the frameworks and tools that enabled countless developers to build new applications and services. This ecosystem fostered innovation on a scale that was previously unimaginable. Software became the backbone of countless industries, from finance to education, from healthcare to entertainment. It's important to remember that the early days of software were filled with uncertainty. There were many skeptics who questioned whether personal computing and software would ever become mainstream. Hardware manufacturers, in particular, often underestimated the role of software. But as the quality and variety of software grew, so did demand for personal computers. Software became the driver of hardware sales, not the other way around. Another aspect of those early days that shaped the future was the culture of collaboration and learning. Software development was still a relatively new discipline, and many of the tools, techniques, and best practices were being invented on the fly. We learned a lot from trial and error, and from sharing ideas with other pioneers in the field. This culture of openness and continuous learning was crucial to accelerating progress. Reflecting on that period, I realize how pivotal timing and vision were. The hardware advancements made personal computing possible, but without visionary software, those advances would have had limited impact. Software gave hardware meaning. It made computers usable, approachable, and ultimately indispensable. Those early experiences also taught me about the power of focus and perseverance. Building software for personal computers was not easy. There were technical challenges, limited resources, and plenty of competition, but the commitment to a clear vision making technology accessible and empowering kept us moving forward. It was a process of constant iteration, learning, and improvement. I've often thought about how different the world would be if those early days of software development had taken a different path. What if we had stuck to treating software as a minor part of computing? What if we had not embraced the idea that software could be the real innovation engine? The progress we've seen in the past decades, everything from smartphones to cloud computing to artificial intelligence, traces back to those initial steps. In many ways, the spirit of the early software pioneers lives on today. The same curiosity, the same willingness to challenge assumptions, and the same drive to create tools that empower people continue to fuel innovation. The problems may be more complex now, but the core philosophy remains the same. Looking back, I feel grateful to have been part of that era. It was a time of bold ideas and big dreams. But more importantly, it was a time when software began to fulfill its promise as a transformative force in society. That promise is still unfolding, and the foundation laid in those early days continues to support the incredible advancements we see today and the exciting innovations still to come. One of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that in technology, standing still is the same as falling behind. The pace of innovation moves relentlessly forward, and software in particular demands a mindset of continuous learning, adaptation, and reinvention. The landscape is always changing. New challenges emerge, new tools become available, and user needs evolve. Success doesn't come to those who rest on past achievements. It belongs to those who anticipate change and embrace it. When we started working on software decades ago, the idea that a single product could remain static for years without updates was already outdated. Even then, software had to evolve quickly to respond to hardware improvements and user feedback. Over time, this dynamic became even more pronounced. The transition from desktop applications to web-based services, then to mobile and cloud computing, are all examples of how adaptability has been essential for survival and growth. What makes software unique in this regard is its malleability. Unlike hardware, which is constrained by physical limitations, software can be modified rapidly. This means that developers can respond to new opportunities or threats much faster than in many other industries. But that opportunity comes with pressure. If you don't innovate continuously, your product becomes obsolete and users move on. The companies and teams that thrive are those who build innovation into their DNA. This doesn't mean innovation happens randomly or by accident. It requires a culture that encourages experimentation and isn't afraid to fail. In the early days of Microsoft, we learned that it's okay to try new ideas and fail quickly so you can pivot and improve. Innovation is often about incremental progress, small improvements that accumulate into something truly transformative over time. But sometimes it means making bold bets on new directions, even when the outcome is uncertain. Cloud computing is a perfect example of this. When the concept first started gaining traction, many questioned whether shifting software and data off personal machines to remote servers would catch on. It required a new mindset about control, security, and performance. But embracing this change enabled an explosion of innovation. Suddenly, companies and individuals could access vast computing resources on demand, collaborate in real time, and scale their operations in ways that were previously impossible. This was not just a technical shift, but a fundamental change in how software is delivered and consumed. Adaptability also means being open to new standards, new platforms, and new ways of working. The software ecosystem is incredibly diverse and constantly expanding. Developers and companies can't afford to be rigid or proprietary if they want to remain relevant. The success of open source software, for instance, highlights how collaboration and shared innovation accelerate progress. By contributing to and building on open standards, the entire industry benefits. Another critical factor in continuous innovation is listening closely to users and understanding their evolving needs. Technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. It serves people, businesses, and communities. What might seem like a breakthrough internally doesn't always translate into real world value unless it addresses genuine problems. Successful software companies invest heavily in user research, testing, and feedback loops to ensure they are building solutions that truly matter. Over the years, I've also observed how adaptability requires humility. No matter how much expertise or past success you have, you must be willing to challenge your assumptions and admit when it's time to change course. Some of the biggest tech companies have faltered because they were unwilling or slow to adapt to new trends or user demands. That willingness to learn and pivot quickly can be the difference between thriving and becoming irrelevant. Looking forward, I believe the rate of change will only accelerate. Emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and quantum computing will open doors to new possibilities we are only beginning to understand. Software development itself will evolve, leveraging AI to write better code, predict user needs, and automate many routine tasks. The companies and individuals who can embrace these advances thoughtfully and integrate them into their workflows will have a tremendous advantage. But the human element remains essential. Innovation is not just about technology. It's about vision, creativity, and problem solving. It's about bringing together diverse teams with different perspectives and backgrounds to generate ideas and build solutions that are inclusive and impactful. Adaptability means cultivating a culture where curiosity is encouraged and failure is seen as a step toward success. Moreover, continuous innovation must be balanced with responsibility. As software touches more aspects of daily life, from health care to finance to education, we have a duty to ensure that innovation benefits society as a whole. This means considering ethical implications, safeguarding privacy and security, and striving for equitable access. Innovation without responsibility risks alienating users or causing harm, which ultimately undermines progress. From my experience, the best innovations often come from those who maintain a beginner's mindset, curious, humble, and eager to learn. Technology evolves rapidly, and no one can predict every twist and turn. What matters is the ability to adapt, to stay engaged with emerging trends, and to remain committed to creating value for users. It's exciting to think about where continuous innovation and adaptability will take us next. Software has already transformed the way we communicate, work, learn, and entertain ourselves. The future promises even more profound changes, new tools that will help us address global challenges, improve quality of life, and expand human potential in ways we can't yet fully imagine. In the end, embracing continuous innovation and adaptability isn't just a strategy for business success, it's a mindset for life in a technology-driven world. Those who embrace change, learn from it, and harness it to solve meaningful problems will be the ones shaping the future. I've witnessed this cycle many times, and I'm convinced it will continue to drive progress and open new horizons for decades to come. When we think about the evolution of software technology, one of the most transformative shifts has been the move from isolated applications to expansive platforms and ecosystems. Early on, software was designed to solve very specific problems: word processing, spreadsheets, simple games. But as technology matured, we realized that the real power lies not just in individual programs, but in how they connect, integrate, and enable a broader range of experiences. Platforms became the foundation on which entire industries and communities could grow. In the beginning, software was often a standalone product. You installed it on your computer and it performed a specific function. That model worked for a while, but it was limited. As user needs became more complex and businesses looked for ways to create value beyond a single tool, the idea of creating platforms and environments where multiple applications and services could interact started to take hold. Platforms offered a scalable way to build ecosystems, where developers, users, and partners could all participate in creating value. The transition to platforms was revolutionary because it redefined the role of software companies. Instead of just selling a product, companies began to provide the infrastructure that allowed others to innovate on top of it. This shift created a virtuous cycle. As more developers built applications for a platform, the platform became more valuable, attracting more users, which in turn motivated even more developers to contribute. The network effect this created has been a powerful force in technology. Consider the operating systems we developed early on. At first, the goal was simply to provide a stable, user-friendly interface between hardware and applications. But as those systems matured, they became platforms. They offered developers a consistent environment, a set of tools and API, to create software that could run reliably on millions of devices. This consistency lowered the barriers to innovation and made it possible for a vast ecosystem of software to flourish. Platforms also introduced new business models. Instead of just one-time purchases, software providers began offering ongoing services, subscriptions, and marketplaces. This change allowed for continuous improvement and responsiveness to user feedback, fostering deeper relationships with customers. The ability to update software regularly through a platform also meant bugs could be fixed faster and new features added more frequently. One of the most significant developments in this evolution has been the rise of cloud computing platforms. These platforms have fundamentally altered how software is delivered, accessed, and scaled. Instead of being tied to a particular device, software and data live in the cloud, accessible from anywhere. This shift has lowered costs and expanded opportunities for businesses of all sizes to leverage powerful computing resources. The ecosystem around cloud platforms is enormous. It includes everything from software developers creating new applications to partners offering complementary services, to end users who benefit from a seamless experience. This interconnectedness enables innovation at a pace and scale that was impossible before. Startups can now build products without investing heavily in infrastructure. Enterprises can scale up and down on demand. The result is a democratization of technology that fosters creativity and competition. Moreover, platforms have encouraged the adoption of standards and interoperability. When different software components and services can communicate effectively, users benefit from a richer experience. It's no longer about isolated silos, but about integrated solutions that can adapt and grow. This openness helps to break down barriers and create opportunities for collaboration across industries and borders. Building and maintaining successful platforms requires a deep understanding of community and trust. Users and developers must feel confident that the platform will be reliable, secure, and fair. This means that platform providers have a responsibility to ensure transparency, protect privacy, and foster an inclusive environment. Without trust, ecosystems cannot thrive. The rise of platforms has also reshaped competition. Companies now compete not just on the quality of a single product, but on the strength and vibrancy of their entire ecosystem. This competition drives continuous innovation and improvement, benefiting everyone involved. But it also raises complex questions about market power and regulation, as some platforms become dominant players with significant influence over markets and users. Looking ahead, I see platforms and ecosystems continuing to evolve and expand in exciting ways. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things are creating new layers of connectivity and intelligence. Platforms that can integrate AI capabilities will enable smarter, more personalized experiences. Those that connect a vast array of devices and sensors will provide real-time insights and automation, transforming industries from manufacturing to healthcare. I believe the most successful platforms will be those that remain flexible and open, inviting participation from a diverse range of contributors. They will empower developers and users alike to innovate and create solutions that address specific needs while contributing to the broader ecosystem. This collaborative approach will be key to unlocking the full potential of software technology. Reflecting on this journey, it's clear that the rise of platforms and ecosystems marks a fundamental shift in how software is developed, delivered, and experienced. It has created a powerful framework for innovation and collaboration that continues to drive progress across every sector. The ability to build and nurture these ecosystems will be one of the defining challenges and opportunities of the coming decades. Ultimately, platforms are not just technical constructs. They are social and economic engines. They connect people, ideas, and resources in ways that amplify creativity and productivity. By enabling this interconnectedness, software platforms have transformed our world, and will continue to do so in ways we are only beginning to imagine. When I think about the most profound impacts technology has had on our world, the theme that stands out to me again and again is democratization. Technology, especially software, has this unique ability to level the playing field, to give access to knowledge, tools, and opportunities to people regardless of where they come from, what resources they have, or what barriers they face. This idea of democratizing technology is not just a nice concept. It's a practical driver of progress, innovation, and inclusion. In the early days of computing, access to powerful technology was limited to large institutions, universities, governments, and major corporations. Computers were huge, expensive machines housed in special rooms, accessible only to specialists who had the training to operate them. The general public didn't have access, and as a result, the benefits of computing were confined to a very narrow slice of society. But over time, this started to change. As personal computers became affordable and software more user-friendly, the power of computing began to spread to individuals and small businesses. This shift opened up tremendous new possibilities. What's remarkable about democratizing technology is how it transforms lives and economies. When people have access to the right tools and information, they can create, solve problems, and compete on a much larger scale. For example, consider education. Software tools have brought quality educational resources to places where schools might be underfunded or teachers are scarce. Suddenly, a student in a remote village can learn advanced subjects through interactive programs or online courses, opening doors that were previously closed. Similarly, small businesses can now compete with larger companies because software platforms provide access to marketing, sales, logistics, and data analytics tools that were once only affordable for big corporations. This levels the playing field and encourages entrepreneurship and innovation worldwide. I've seen first, and how this democratization fuels economic growth and drives social mobility, helping lift people out of poverty and creating vibrant new markets. Another critical aspect is the role of open source software in democratizing technology. Open source breaks down barriers to entry by making high-quality software freely available to anyone who wants to use or improve it. This collaborative approach accelerates innovation and allows developers everywhere to contribute to projects that can have a global impact. It's a powerful example of how democratization isn't just about access, but also about participation, empowering people to be creators, not just consumers. However, democratizing technology also brings responsibility. As access grows, so does the importance of digital literacy and security. It's not enough to simply provide the tools. People need to know how to use them safely and effectively. There are also challenges related to privacy and ethical use of technology that we must address to ensure that the benefits of democratization are not overshadowed by risks. Looking ahead, I'm optimistic about how emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and cloud computing will further advance democratization. AI-powered tools can help automate complex tasks, making technology accessible to even more people regardless of their technical skills. Cloud computing lowers the cost of entry for businesses and individuals alike by providing scalable infrastructure on demand. Together, these technologies promise to expand access and opportunity in ways we haven't yet fully realized. The ongoing challenge is to ensure that this wave of democratization is inclusive and equitable. We must work to bridge the digital divide that still exists between regions and communities. Access to technology and connectivity is not uniform across the globe, and those gaps risk leaving some behind. Investing in infrastructure, education, and policies that promote digital inclusion will be critical to making sure everyone benefits from technological progress. Reflecting on the journey so far, it's clear that democratizing technology has been one of the key forces shaping the modern world. It has transformed industries, empowered individuals, and created new possibilities that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. The pace of change is only accelerating, and the opportunity to use technology to improve lives is greater than ever. At its core, democratization is about empowerment. It's about giving people the ability to solve their own problems, express their creativity, and participate fully in the digital economy and society. That's a vision worth working toward, not just for technology companies or governments, but for all of us. When we unlock the power of technology for everyone, we unlock human potential on a massive scale. This belief in democratization guides much of what I have done over the years. From building software that made personal computing accessible, to supporting initiatives that expand access to education and healthcare through technology, the goal has always been to reduce barriers and create opportunities. The future will demand even more focus on these principles as technology becomes even more deeply embedded in every aspect of our lives. Ultimately, democratizing technology is one of the most powerful ways we can use innovation to create a fairer, more inclusive world. It's a force that can drive economic growth, enhance quality of life, and open new horizons for billions of people. As we continue to innovate, we must keep this mission front and center, because the true value of technology lies not just in what it can do, but in who it can reach and empower. I believe that by continuing to innovate, collaborate, and focus on accessibility, software will remain a powerful force for progress. We've come a long way, but the journey is far from over. The future of software technology is a future where opportunity is boundless, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. Thank you